She battled the beast barehanded to save a cadet, and woke to find the academy guarding her door. Park stood at the back of the training hall and watched the other cadets fight. A warrior named lifted his sparring partner over his head with two of his four arms. He threw the smaller cadet across the mat like a toy. The crowd cheered, beat his chest, and roared in victory. Said nothing. She had seen this many times before. The Galactic Coalition Military Academy was the finest military school in the known galaxy. Cadets from 47 different species came here to train. They learned combat. They learned strategy. They learned how to work together to protect the Coalition from its enemies. Had been here for 3 years. In that time, she had learned one thing very clearly. Humans were the weakest species in the Academy. It was not an opinion, it was a fact. The Academy kept records of everything: strength tests, speed tests, endurance tests, psychic ability tests. On every single list, humans ranked near the bottom. They were 3 times stronger than humans. They had 4 arms and thick gray skin that could stop a knife. They were twice as fast, with reflexes so quick they could catch a bullet. They had natural armor covering their bodies. They could read minds and move objects without touching them. And humans had none of these things. They were soft, they were slow, they were ordinary. Knew this, she had accepted it long ago. But she had not given up. Every morning, she woke 2 hours before the other cadets. She ran laps around the academy grounds until her legs burned. She lifted weights until her arms shook. She studied combat techniques until her eyes hurt from reading. She could not be stronger than I, she could not be faster than I, but she could work harder than anyone else. She could learn more. She could adapt better. That was the human way. It was the only way she knew. Still, 3 years of hard work had not changed how others saw her. To most cadets, she was invisible. To the instructors, she was adequate, nothing more. So when Commander Vel called her name during the morning assembly, was surprised. Commander Vel he stood 8 feet tall with dark gray skin and 4 powerful arms. His eyes were black and cold. In 3 years had never seen him smile. "Cadet Park," he said, his deep voice filling the assembly hall. "You will lead Squad 7 on the survival exercise to 7. Blinked lead a squad, her." She stepped forward and saluted. "Yes, Commander." Vel looked down at her. His expression did not change. "The exercise begins tomorrow. Your squad consists of 6 first-year cadets. You will guide them through a 3-day survival scenario. Do not fail." "I understand, Commander." Vel turned away. The assembly continued. Walked back to her place. Her heart was beating fast, but not from excitement. She understood what this assignment really meant. Leading first-year cadets on a survival exercise was not an honor. It was simple work, easy work, the kind of work given to cadets who were not needed for anything important. Commander Vel did not believe in her. He was giving her a task where she could not cause any problems. Took a slow breath. She pushed down her disappointment. It did not matter what Vel thought. She would do her job. She would do it well. That night, she reviewed the files of her squad members. There were 6 first-year cadets in Squad 7, 2, 1, 1, 1, and 1 human. The human's name he was 19 years old. His test scores were average. His combat ratings were below average. His file said he was eager but inexperienced. Looked at his photograph for a long moment. He had a young face, nervous eyes. He looked like someone who did not belong here. She knew that feeling well. The next morning, met her squad at the shuttle bay. The first year stood in a line, their backs straight, their faces uncertain. They were trying to look confident but could see the fear in their eyes. This was their first real mission outside the academy. They did not know what to expect. The cadet, a young male named, looked at with clear doubt. He was already taller than her, stronger than her. She could see him wondering why a human was in charge. The twins and Myra whispered to each other. The female named stood silently with her arms crossed. The small pale creature named Finn watched everything with wide dark eyes and stood at the end of the line. He was trying to stand tall, but his hands were shaking slightly. Walked down the line. She looked at each cadet in turn. "My name is Park," she said. "I am your squad leader for this exercise. You will follow my orders. You will work together. You will complete this mission." Made a small sound. It might have been a laugh. Stopped in front of him. She had to look up to meet his eyes. "Do you have something to say, Cadet?" Hesitated, then he spoke. "No disrespect, Senior, but why is a human leading this squad? Surely or would be more qualified." The other cadets went very still. Did not look away from his eyes. She did not raise her voice. "I have been at this academy for 3 years," she said calmly. "I have completed every training exercise. I have passed every test. I have survived situations that would have killed many cadets from many species. I am your leader because Commander Vell assigned me to be your leader. Is that answer enough for you?" Stared at her. For a moment something flickered in his eyes. Then he looked down. "Yes, Senior." Nodded. She walked to the front of the line. "Board the shuttle. We leave in 10 minutes." The cadets moved quickly. They did not speak. Was the last to board. As he passed, he stopped. "Senior Park." "Yes." He swallowed nervously. "I just wanted to say, I am glad another human is leading this squad. It makes me feel like maybe I can belong here too." Looked at him. She saw herself from 3 years ago, young, scared, hopping desperately to prove that humans were worth something. "Stay close to me during the exercise," she said quietly. "Don't try to be a hero. Don't try to prove anything. Just watch, learn, survive." Nodded quickly. "Yes, Senior, thank you." He hurried onto the shuttle. Stood alone for a moment. She looked up at the sky through the shuttle bay's open roof. Somewhere out there was 7, a forest moon, training ground, safe territory. She had done exercises like this before. Simple survival scenarios, nothing dangerous. But something felt strange today. A cold feeling in her stomach, a whisper in the back of her mind. She pushed the feeling away. It was just nerves. First-year cadets always made senior officers nervous. Walked onto the shuttle. The doors closed behind her. 20 hours later, they landed on 7. The moon was beautiful. Thick green forests covered the land. A blue sun hung low in the purple sky. The air smelled like flowers and rain. The shuttle dropped them in a clearing and flew away. It would return in 3 days. Gathered her squad around her. "The rules are simple," she said. "We travel 20 kilometers to the extraction point. We set up camp each night. We watch each other's backs. We do not take unnecessary risks." The cadets nodded. "Move out." They walked into the forest. For the first day, everything was normal. The cadets complained about sore feet. They argued about which direction to go. They made too much noise and scared away the local animals. Corrected them, she taught them. She kept them moving. By nightfall, they had covered 8 kilometers. They set up camp in a small clearing. They built a fire and ate their rations. Sat near. He was quiet, but she could see him watching the dark forest around them. "Are you scared?" she asked. He nodded slowly. "A little. The academy said 7 was safe, but it feels wrong, like something is watching us." Looked at the trees. The forest was silent, too silent. "Get some sleep," she said. "I will take first watch." The cadets settled into their sleeping bags. One by one they fell asleep. Sat alone by the fire. She watched the darkness between the trees. The cold feeling in her stomach had not gone away. If anything, it had grown stronger. She told herself it was nothing, just nerves. But deep in the forest something was moving, something old, something hungry. And it had already found their scent. The second day passed without trouble. led her squad through the forest. They climbed hills. They crossed streams. They pushed through thick bushes that grabbed at their clothes and cut their hands. The cadets were tired, they were sore, but they did not complain as much as before. They were learning. The young had stopped questioning orders. He had seen how she moved through the forest, how she found the best paths, how she noticed small details that others missed. He was beginning to understand why she was in charge. The twins worked well together. They scouted ahead with their quick feet and sharp eyes. They carried extra supplies without complaint. Her strong body and armored skin made her perfect for heavy work. Fen, used his psychic senses to check for danger. And stayed close to. He watched everything she did. How she walked, how she held her knife, how she checked the sky and the ground and the trees around them. By evening, they had covered another 10 kilometers. They were only 2 kilometers from the extraction point. We could reach it tonight, said. We could finish early. Shook her head. No, we make camp here. We finish tomorrow morning. Frowned. Why wait? The sooner we finish, the sooner we can return to the academy. Walking through an unfamiliar forest at night is dangerous, said. We do not know this area. We cannot see well in the dark. One wrong step could mean a broken leg or worse. I can see in the dark, said. My species has excellent night vision. Good for you, but the rest of us cannot. We stay together, we stay safe. We finish tomorrow. Opened his mouth to argue, then he closed it. He looked at the ground. Yes, Senior. Chose a campsite near a large rock formation. The rocks would protect them from wind and give them cover if something went wrong. She ordered the cadets to set up their tents and gather firewood. Worked quickly. He set up his tent. He helped Fen with the fire. He checked the water supplies. He did everything without being asked. Watched him, she felt a small feeling of pride. The boy was learning. After dinner, the cadets gathered around the fire. They were tired but happy. Tomorrow they would finish the exercise. They would return to the academy as successful cadets. Tell us about your other missions, Senior Park said. The girl's blue eyes reflected the firelight. Have you ever done anything dangerous? Shrugged a few times. Like what? Was quiet for a moment. She did not like talking about herself, but the cadets were looking at her with curious eyes. They wanted to hear a story. Last year I was part of a squad that got caught in a sandstorm on 4, she said. The storm lasted 3 days. Our equipment failed. Our shelter was destroyed. We had no water, no food, no way to call for help. The cadets leaned forward. What did you do? Myra asked. We survived, said simply. We dug a hole in the sand. We covered ourselves with our broken tent. We waited. When the storm ended, we walked 40 kilometers to the nearest outpost. 40 kilometers, said, through the desert without water. Yes. How many of you survived? His eyes grew distant. 4 out of 8. The fire crackled. No one spoke. The academy teaches us many things, said quietly. But the most important lesson is this. Sometimes the only thing you can do is refuse to give up. Sometimes that is enough. Sometimes it is not. But if you give up, you have already lost. The cadets were silent. They looked at with new eyes. She was not big. She was not strong. She had no special abilities. But she had survived things that would have killed them. Get some sleep, said. I will take first watch. The cadets went to their tents. One by one, the camp grew quiet. Sat alone by the fire. She watched the darkness. The forest was silent again. That same strange silence from the night before. She checked her comm unit. The signal was weak but working. She checked her emergency beacon. It was fully charged. Everything was fine. But the cold feeling in her stomach would not go away. Around midnight, woke for the second watch. The nodded silently and took her position by the fire, went to her tent. She lay down but did not close her eyes. She stared at the tent ceiling. She listened to the sounds of the forest. Wind in the trees, small animals moving through the bushes, the distant call of a night bird. Normal sound, safe sounds. Closed her eyes, she let herself drift toward sleep. Then she heard the scream. It cut through the night like a knife, high and sharp and full of terror. Then it stopped suddenly, too suddenly. Was on her feet before she knew she was moving. She grabbed her knife and ran out of her tent. The camp was in chaos. Cadets were stumbling out of their tents, confused and scared. Stood by the fire, her weapon raised, looking in every direction. What happened? Shouted. Who screamed? Counted heads. Myra, Finn. No. Where is Cadet? She demanded. The cadets looked around. They looked at each other. Their faces went pale. He went to get water, Finn said. His voice was shaking. Just a few minutes ago, he said he would be right back. His blood went cold. The stream was 50 meters away, through thick forest in the dark. She activated her comm unit. Cadet, respond. Cadet, do you copy? Static. She tried again. Answer me, where are you? Nothing. Switched to the emergency channel. She pressed the beacon button. Nothing happened. The light stayed dark. No signal went out. Something was jamming their communications. Something was blocking their emergency beacon. This was not an accident. This was not a malfunction. Something was hunting them. Everyone stay here, ordered. Her voice was calm but hard as steel. Form a defensive circle. Do not leave the camp. Do not separate for any reason. What about? Finn asked. His psychic senses were reaching out, trying to find the missing cadet. His face was twisted with concentration and fear. I can feel him. He is scared. He is hurt. He is. I will find him, said. Stepped forward. Senior, let me come with you. I am stronger. I can see in the dark. I can help. No, you stay here and protect the others. That is an order. But that is an order, Cadet. Stopped, he stared at, then he nodded slowly. Yes, Senior. Turned toward the forest. She gripped her knife tightly. It was a small blade, 20 centimeters of sharp metal. It felt useless in her hand. But it was all she had. She walked into the darkness. The forest swallowed her immediately. The light from the campfire disappeared behind the trees. The world became shadows and shapes and the sound of her own breathing. Moved slowly. She watched where she put her feet. She listened for any sound. The trail was easy to find. Broken branches showed where something large had moved through the bushes. Deep scratches marked the bark of the trees. Something with claws, something big. And on the leaves, dark and wet in the moonlight, was blood. Followed the trail. Her heart was pounding. Her hands were sweating, but she did not stop. She did not turn back. Was out there, he was hurt, he was scared. She was the only one who could help him. The trail led deeper into the forest, away from the camp, away from the extraction point, into territory that had not been mapped or scanned. Heard something ahead, a low sound, like breathing, like growling. She slowed down. She crouched behind a tree. She looked around the trunk. What she saw made her blood freeze. Was lying against a rock formation. His leg was twisted beneath him at a wrong angle. His face was pale. His eyes were wide and staring at something above him. The creature standing over him was like nothing had ever seen. It was huge, 8 feet tall when standing on its 4 legs. Its body was covered in thick plates of natural armor. Its claws were long and curved like swords. Its mouth was full of teeth that could bite through metal. Had heard stories about them in the academy. Ancient predators, apex hunters, monsters from the old days before the Coalition mapped and controlled the galaxy. They were supposed to be extinct on 7. The Academy had cleared this area. They had scanned for dangers. They had missed this one. There was not attacking, not yet. It was circling him, sniffing him, playing with him like a cat plays with a mouse. Saw his eyes went wide. He shook his head slightly, telling her to run, telling her to save herself. Did not move. She looked at the beast. She looked at her knife. She thought about her options. She had no options. It was too big, too strong, too armored. Her knife would not hurt it. Her strength would not stop it. If she called for help, no one would hear her. If she ran, would die. If she stayed, they would both die. But maybe, just maybe, she could give him a chance. She could distract the beast. She could lead it away. She could buy him time to escape. It was a stupid plan, a suicidal plan. But it was the only plan she had. Took a deep breath. She stepped out from behind the tree. "Hey," she screamed, her voice echoed through the forest. "Over here, come and get me." The turned, its dark eyes found her, its lips pulled back to show its terrible teeth. For a moment, everything was still. Then the beast charged and ran toward it. It was fast, faster than anything that big should be. It came at like a storm, 4 legs pounding the ground, claws tearing up dirt and leaves, mouth open wide, ready to bite her in half. Threw her knife. The blade flew straight and true. It hit the creature's face and bounced off. The armor was too thick. The knife did nothing. But it made the beast blink. It gave 1 second. She dove to the side. The rushed past her. Its claws missed her body by the width of a finger. Wind from its passing knocked her off balance. Rolled, she came up running, not away from toward him. "Run," she shouted. "Get back to the camp, go now." Tried to stand. His broken leg gave out. He fell back against the rock. "I can't," he gasped. "My leg." "Then crawl, move." The turned around. It was fast for its size, too fast. It saw standing between it and its prey. The beast made a sound, a low rumbling in its chest. It sounded almost like laughter. Grabbed a rock from the ground. It was the size of her fist, heavy, sharp on one edge. She faced the monster. "Come on," she whispered. "Come and get me." The charged again. This time did not dodge. She waited. She watched the creature's eyes. She watched its muscles. She saw when it was going to strike. At the last moment, she stepped to the side and swung her rock. She hit the creature's eye. The screamed. It was a terrible sound, high and sharp and full of rage. The beast shook its head. Black blood dripped from its damaged eye. But it did not fall. It did not run away. It turned toward with pure hatred in its remaining eye. She ran. Not toward the camp, not toward, she ran deeper into the forest, away from everyone. She could hear the beast behind her, crashing through the trees, smashing through bushes, getting closer with every second. Her lungs burned, her legs ached. She was not fast enough. She could never be fast enough. But she did not stop. Behind her she heard shouting something. She could not understand the words. She hoped he was moving. She hoped he was escaping. That was all that mattered. It was almost on her. She could feel its hot breath on her back. She could hear its claws cutting the air. She saw a fallen tree ahead, thick trunk, low to the ground. Dove, she slid under the trunk. Her body scraped against dirt and roots and sharp stones. They tried to follow. It was too big. It crashed into the trunk. Wood exploded. The beast roared with anger. Kept running. But she was getting tired. Her body was giving out. Humans were not built for this. They did not have the endurance of a, they did not have the speed of a. They were weak, soft, breakable. The forest opened into a small clearing. On one side was a cliff face, 20 meters of solid rock going straight up. A dead end. Turned around, her back pressed against the cold stone. They came out of the trees. It moved slowly now. It knew she was trapped. It knew she had nowhere to go. The beast stopped a few meters away. It looked at her with its one good eye. Blood still dripped from its other eye, the eye she had damaged. It was angry, so very angry. Looked around. She searched for anything she could use, a weapon, an escape route, something. There was nothing. just rock and dirt and the monster in front of her. She was going to die here. The thought was clear and simple. No fear, no panic, just a fact. She was going to die, but maybe would live. Maybe that was enough. The crouched, its muscles tensed. It was getting ready to pounce. Did not close her eyes. She refused to look away. If this was the end, she would face it standing. The beast leaped. Moved. She did not run. She could not run. Instead, she ran toward the creature. It was the last thing they expected. Its claws passed over her head as she ducked under its body. She grabbed its leg. She used its own momentum to swing herself up. Onto its back. The thrashed. It tried to throw her off. It twisted and turned and slammed against the cliff wall. Held on. Her fingers dug into the gaps between its armor plates. Her legs wrapped around its body. The beast roared. It threw itself against the rocks. Once, twice, 3 times. Felt her ribs crack. Pain exploded through her body. She tasted blood in her mouth. But she did not let go. She pulled herself higher, her arms wrapped around the creature's neck. The neck was the only part without heavy armor, the only weak point. She squeezed. Her arms were not strong. She could not crush bone with her bare hands. But humans had something else, something that the Academy's tests could not measure. They did not know how to give up. The bucked and twisted. It rolled on the ground. It slammed against rocks and trees and dirt. Her arm broke. She felt the bone snap. The pain was beyond anything she had ever known. She squeezed harder. The beast ran. It crashed through the forest on its back. Branches cut her face. Thorns tore her skin. Blood covered her body. She squeezed harder. It got up. It fell again. Its movements were getting slower. Its roars were getting weaker. Could not see. Blood was running into her eyes. She could not hear. The world was just a roaring sound in her ears. But she could feel. She could feel the creature's neck in her arms. She could feel it struggling for air. She squeezed. Time stopped making sense. Minutes felt like hours. Hours felt like seconds. The world became very simple. There was only the monster, only her arms, only the need to keep squeezing. At some point, the stopped moving. At some point, stopped squeezing. She lay on the forest floor. Her body was broken in more ways than she could count. Her arms were still locked around the creature's neck. She could not move them. Above her, the sky was turning gray. Dawn was coming. She had survived. Was safe. That was her last thought before the darkness took her. Far away at the edge of the forest, limped toward the camp. He had crawled. He had dragged himself through the dirt with his hands. His broken leg left a trail of blood behind him. When he reached the camp, the other cadets ran to help him. Shouted, "What happened? Where is Senior Park?" Could barely speak. His voice was raw. His body was shaking. "She saved me," he whispered. "There was a monster. It was going to kill me. She drew it away. She led it into the forest." The cadets looked at each other. Horror filled their faces. "We have to find her," said. "We have to help her." "The comms are down," Myra said. "The beacon is not working. We cannot call for help." "Then we go ourselves," said. His voice was hard. His 4 hands were clenched into fists. "We find her. We bring her back." Fen closed his eyes. His psychic senses reached out into the forest. He searched for any sign of, any trace of her mind. For a long moment, he found nothing. Then very faint, very distant, he felt something. A spark of consciousness, weak and fading but still there. "She is alive," he said. "Barely, 2 kilometers west, but—" "But what?" demanded. Fen opened his eyes. They were wide with shock. "Though I can feel it too." He paused. "It is dead." No one moved. No one spoke. "That is impossible," said slowly. "Cannot be killed without heavy weapons. Their armor is too strong." "I know what I felt," Fen said. The creature is dead, and Senior Park is next to it. Turned to the others. His face was pale but determined. Get the medical supplies, get the emergency stretcher, we move now. They ran. When they found, the sun was just rising over the trees. Golden light fell on a scene that none of them would ever forget. The lay on its side. Its tongue hung out of its mouth. Its one remaining eye stared at nothing. Around its neck were deep marks, bruises in the shape of human arms. And lying against its body, covered in blood, was Park. Her arm was bent at a terrible angle. Her face was swollen and cut. Her uniform was torn to pieces. But her chest was moving, slowly, weakly, still breathing. Senior Park whispered. He limped to her side and fell to his knees. Tears ran down his face. You saved me. You fought that thing alone. Why? Why did you do that? Did not answer. She could not hear him. But somewhere deep in the darkness of her mind, a small flame still burned, a flame that refused to go out. The cadets worked quickly. They lifted onto the stretcher. They bandaged her wounds as best they could. They started the long walk to the extraction point. Behind them, this body lay still in the morning light, a monster that had hunted this forest for hundreds of years, killed by a human woman with no weapons, no armor, no special abilities. Just her bare hands and a will that would not break. The rescue shuttle arrived at noon. Was the first medic off the ship. She had pale blue skin and silver eyes that could see things other beings could not. Her people were known for many things, speed, grace, beauty. But was known for something else. She was an empath. She could feel the emotions and physical state of others just by touching them. It was a rare gift, even among her kind. She had been a medic for 15 years. She had seen terrible things, war wounds, torture victims, survivors of disasters that killed thousands. She thought nothing could surprise her anymore. She was wrong. The call had come in at dawn, a distress signal from 7, a training squad in trouble, one cadet badly injured. The academy had sent a rescue team immediately, 3 medics, 2 pilots, 1 security officer, standard procedure for a training emergency. They had expected to find a broken leg, maybe a poisonous bite, perhaps a fall from a cliff. They had not expected this. When the shuttle landed at the extraction point, saw the cadets waiting for them. Young faces, scared eyes, they were carrying someone on a stretcher. Ran to them. Her medical scanner was already active. What happened, she demanded. Report. A young stepped forward. His name tag said. He said, his voice was shaking. In the forest, it attacked one of our squad members, Senior Park. She went after it, alone. Stopped walking, she stared at him. On 7, that is impossible. This area was cleared. I know what I saw, said, his 4 hands clenched into fists. And I know what I found. Looked at the stretcher. What she saw made her heart stop. The woman on the stretcher was small, human. Her body was covered in blood and bruises. Her arm was broken in at least 3 places. Her face was so swollen that her eyes were almost invisible. She needs immediate treatment, said. She knelt beside the stretcher and pressed her hands against the woman's chest. Then she opened her empathic senses. What she felt hit her like a physical blow. Pain, so much pain. Pain from broken bones. Pain from torn muscles. Pain from wounds that should have killed her long ago. But beneath the pain, she felt something else. Anger, not rage, not hatred, but a cold, hard determination, a refusal to accept defeat, a will that burned like fire in the darkness. This woman should have been dead. Her body was destroyed. Her blood loss was catastrophic. Her internal injuries were severe. But she was still alive. She had decided not to die. Pulled her hands away. She was shaking. Get her on the shuttle, she ordered. Now, full life support. Priority transport to the Academy Medical Center. The other medics moved quickly. They lifted the stretcher. They carried it toward the shuttle. A young human limped after them. His leg was in a temporary cast. His face was pale and wet with tears. "Is she going to live?" he asked. "Please, tell me she is going to live." Looked at him, she saw the fear in his eyes, the guilt, the desperate hope. "What is your name, Cadet?" "She saved my life. That was going to kill me. She drew it away. She fought it alone." "With what weapons?" "Swallowed no weapons. She lost her knife at the beginning. She had nothing." Was silent for a moment. "You are saying she fought an apex predator with her bare hands?" "Yes." "And thee is dead?" "Yes, she strangled it. I saw the marks on its neck." Closed her eyes. She had heard stories about humans. Everyone in the coalition had heard them. Stories about their strange biology, how they could keep fighting after injuries that would kill other species, how they could survive conditions that should have been impossible. Stories about their psychology, how they bonded with other beings, how they protected the weak, how they threw themselves into danger without thinking. Most beings thought these stories were exaggerated, myths, legends created by humans to make themselves seem more impressive. Had never believed the stories. Now she wondered if the stories were actually too modest. "Get on the shuttle," she told gently. "We will do everything we can for her." The flight back to the academy took 4 hours. For 4 hours worked on Park. She set the broken bones. She sealed the internal wounds. She pumped new blood into her veins. 3 times heart stopped. 3 times brought her back. Each time she felt that same burning determination, that refusal to let go, that iron will that kept pushing against the darkness. Most beings when they were dying felt fear, confusion, acceptance. Felt none of these things. She felt only the need to survive, to keep going, to see the next moment. It was terrifying and inspiring and unlike anything had ever experienced. When the shuttle landed at the academy, a full medical team was waiting. They rushed to the intensive care unit. The best doctors, the best technology, everything the coalition had to offer. Stayed with her, she did not know why. Perhaps she wanted to see how this story ended. Perhaps she could not look away. The surgery lasted 12 hours. Her arm was rebuilt with metal supports. Her ribs were fused back together. Her internal organs were repaired one by one. 3 times during the surgery, the doctors said she should have died. 3 times she did not. When it was over, was placed in a healing tank. Blue liquid surrounded her body, accelerating her recovery. Machines monitored her vital signs. Tubes and wires connected her to a dozen different systems. She looked small in the tank, small and broken and fragile, but could still feel her, that flame inside her, that will that refused to go out. She should be dead, one of the doctors said. He had seen thousands of patients in his long career. By every medical measure, she should have died hours ago, multiple times. "I know," said. Her injuries were catastrophic. Even with our technology, the survival rate for that level of damage is less than 1%. "I know." The doctor looked at through the glass of the healing tank. His pale face showed something that might have been wonder or fear. "What is she?" he asked quietly. Did not answer. She did not know how to answer. News traveled fast in the academy. Within hours, everyone knew what had happened on 7. A human cadet had fought alone, without weapons, without armor, without any hope of survival. And she had won. At first, no one believed it. A human, killing with her bare hands. Impossible. The story had to be exaggerated. The cadets had to be lying. Then the security team returned from 7. They had gone to recover this body. They brought pictures. The images spread through the academy like fire. Everyone saw them. Everyone stared. The lying dead on the forest floor, its massive body, its terrible claws, its armor that could stop bullets. And on its neck, clearly visible, the marks where human hands had squeezed until the creature could not breathe. No one questioned the story after that. Outside the intensive care unit, cadets began to gather. At first it was just a few, and the other members of Squad 7. They waited in the hallway, hopping for news. Then others joined them. Friends of humans from her year, people who had barely known her but wanted to show their support. Then more came, cadets from other species, and beings who had never spoken to Park, beings who had probably looked past her in the hallways thinking she was nothing special. They came because they had heard the story. They came because they wanted to see the human who had done the impossible. By the end of the second day, there were over 100 beings waiting outside the intensive care unit. By the end of the third day, there were over 300. The Academy security tried to clear the hallway. They said it was against regulations. They said the cadets needed to return to their duties. The cadets did not leave. More came. Commander Vell watched from his office. His 4 arms were crossed over his chest. His black eyes stared at the screens showing the crowd outside the medical unit. "This is unprecedented," his aide said. "She was an officer with 20 years of experience. In all my time at the Academy, I have never seen anything like this." "Neither have I," Vell said. "Should we disperse them?" Vell was quiet for a long moment. "No," he said finally, "let them stay." His aide looked surprised. "Commander." Vell turned away from the screens. His face was unreadable, but his voice was soft. "Cadet Park did something remarkable, something that defies everything we thought we knew about humans, about strength, about courage." He paused. "If her fellow cadets wish to honor that, who are we to stop them?" His aide nodded slowly. She did not argue. Outside the intensive care unit, the crowd continued to grow. They did not chant, they did not speak, they simply stood, waiting, watching, guarding. Guarding the door of the human who had fought a monster to save a boy she barely knew. Guarding her because somehow, without planning it, they understood that something important had happened. Something that would change everything. Inside the healing tank, Park floated in blue light. She did not know about the crowd. She did not know about the stories. She did not know that she had become something more than a cadet. She only dreamed. In her dreams, she was fighting the again. In her dreams, she felt its neck in her arms. In her dreams, she squeezed until her bones broke and her muscles tore and her vision went black. But she did not let go. She would never let go. That was the human way. Woke slowly. First there was darkness, then there was light, soft and blue filtering through her closed eyelids. She tried to move. Her body did not respond, everything felt heavy, distant, like she was wrapped in thick blankets. She opened her eyes. The first thing she saw was a ceiling, white, clean, medical lights glowing softly above her. She was in a hospital room, that much was clear, but it took her a long moment to remember why. The forest, the screaming. Her arms around the monster's neck. Pain. Darkness. She tried to move her arm. It responded slowly, sluggishly. She lifted her hand and looked at it. The skin was pale, new, pink and tender where deep wounds had been. Her arm was wrapped in a soft cast that glowed faintly with healing energy. She was alive. "Do not try to move too quickly." The voice came from beside her bed, turned her head slowly and saw a figure sitting in a chair. It was a woman, blue skin, silver eyes. She wore the uniform of a medical officer. "My name is," the woman said. "I was part of the team that brought you back from 7. I have been monitoring your recovery." His throat was dry. Her voice came out as a rough whisper. "How long?" 6 days. You have been unconscious for 6 days. 6 days closed her eyes. That was a long time. "The others," she said, "my squad, are they?" "All safe, all recovered. Cadet's leg has healed completely. He has been waiting outside your room every day since you arrived." Relief washed through. She let out a long, slow breath. Was alive, that was all that mattered. "You should not try to talk too much," said. "Your body needs rest. The damage was extensive." "How bad?" Was quiet for a moment. When she spoke, her voice was careful. "Your right arm was broken in 4 places. 7 ribs were cracked or shattered. Your left lung collapsed. You had severe internal bleeding, multiple lacerations, significant blood loss." She paused. "By all medical knowledge, you should have died. Several times. The surgeons said they had never seen anyone survive injuries like yours." Said nothing. She stared at the ceiling. "There is something else you should know," said. "What?" Looked toward the window. Turned her head. There was a large window on one wall of her room, overlooking the hallway outside. She had not noticed it before. What she saw made her breath catch. The hallway was full of people. Not just a few, dozens, maybe hundreds, cadets and officers from every species in the academy. They stood in the corridor, filling it from wall to wall. Some were sitting, some were standing, some were leaning against the walls with their eyes closed. But all of them were facing her door. "What?" whispered. "What is this?" Smiled. It was a rare expression for her species, but it was warm. "They have been here since the 2nd day. The crowd started small, a few of your squad members, some humans from your class, then it grew." Stared at the window. She did not understand. "They heard what you did," continued. "How you fought the alone, how you killed it with nothing but your bare hands, how you nearly destroyed yourself to save Cadet. I just did what I had to do. I know, that is what makes it remarkable." Stood up, she walked to the window and looked out at the crowd. "Most beings in the coalition believe that humans are weak. You are small. You are soft. You have no natural weapons or defenses. By every measurement we use, you should not be able to compete with other species." She turned back too. "But we measure the wrong things." Frowned. "What do you mean?" "When I touched you on the shuttle, I felt something. I am an empath. I can sense the emotions and physical state of others. What I felt in you was unlike anything I have ever experienced." She paused, searching for the right words. "You were dying, your body was broken beyond repair. Any other being would have let go, would have accepted death, but you did not. You refused. With every beat of your heart you were fighting, not against death itself." Looked away. She did not know what to say. "The doctors told me that 3 times during your surgery your heart stopped. 3 times they thought they had lost you, and 3 times you came back, not because of our medicine, because something inside you would not quit." Walked back to her chair and sat down. "That is what terrifies them," she said quietly. "That is what they are here to see." Terrifies who? Everyone. Every species that has ever dismissed humans as weak. They are not here to admire you, Cadet Park. They are here because you have shown them something they did not want to believe. "What is that?" Silver eyes met hers. "That you are dangerous. That when a human decides something matters, truly matters, they will destroy themselves before they give up. That there is no weapon against a being who does not know how to surrender." Was silent. She looked at the crowd outside her window. She saw faces from a dozen species. Some looked at her with respect. Some looked at her with wonder. And some looked at her with fear. "I did not do it to make a point," said finally. "I did not do it to prove anything about humans. Was going to die. He was just a kid. I was the only one who could help him." "I know," said. "That makes it even more remarkable." There was a knock on the door. Stood and walked to open it. Stood in the doorway. His eyes were red. He had been crying. He was holding a small bundle of flowers that looked like they had been picked from the academy gardens. "Can I come in?" he asked. His voice was shaking. "Please, I need to see her." Looked at, nodded. Walked into the room slowly. He stopped beside her bed. He looked at her with eyes that held 1,000 emotions. "Senior Park," he whispered, I do not know what to say. You saved my life. You almost died for me. Reached out and touched his hand. Her fingers were weak, but she squeezed gently. "You are alive," she said. "That is enough." Tears rolled down his face. He did not try to stop them. "When they came, I was so scared. I thought I was going to die. And then you appeared. You screamed and ran at it like you were not afraid at all." "I was afraid," said. "I was terrified." "But you still fought." "Yes." "Why?" Thought about it. She thought about the moment she had seen pinned against the rocks, the moment she had decided to attack. "Because giving up would have meant watching you die," she said. "And I could not do that. Even if I died trying, even if it was impossible, I could not just stand there and do nothing." Nodded slowly. More tears fell. "I want to be like you," he said. "Strong, brave, someone who protects others." Smiled. It hurt her face, but she smiled anyway. "You already are. You crawled 2 kilometers with a broken leg to get help. You did not give up either." Outside the window, the crowd continued to watch. They could not hear the conversation, but they saw the young human crying beside the bed. They saw the injured woman holding his hand. And somehow, that image spoke louder than any words. Later that day, Commander Vel came to see her. He stood in her doorway like a statue, 8 feet tall, 4 arms crossed, face unreadable. "Cadet Park," he said, "you are awake." Tried to sit up. She could not quite manage it. "Yes, Commander." Vel walked into the room. He stood at the foot of her bed. His black eyes studied her. "The investigation into the 7 incident is complete," he said. "There was a survivor from an old nest that our scans missed. It should have been found before the exercise began. That failure was ours, not yours." Nodded. "Your actions during the incident have been reviewed by the senior command," Vel continued. "What you did was tactically unsound. You engaged a superior enemy without weapons, without backup, without any chance of survival. By any reasonable measure, you should have retreated and called for help." Said nothing. She waited. "However," Vel said, "reasonable measures do not account for everything." He unfolded 2 of his arms. In one hand he held a small case. "When you are recovered, there will be a formal ceremony, but I wanted you to see this now." He opened the case. Inside was a medal. It was shaped like a star, made of silver and gold. At its center was a small blue gem that pulsed with inner light. "The Coalition Star of Valor," Vel said. "The highest honor the Academy can give. In 200 years, it has been awarded only 17 times." He closed the case and set it on her bedside table. "You will be the 18th, and the first human ever to receive it." Stared at the case. She did not know what to say. "Get well, Cadet Park," Vel said. He turned toward the door. "The Academy needs people like you." He paused at the doorway. He did not look back. "I need to apologize to you. I underestimated you. I underestimated all humans. I will not make that mistake again." Then he was gone. Lay alone in her bed. She looked at the medal. She looked at the crowd outside her window. She thought about the journey that had brought her here, the years of training, the doubt, the dismissal, the constant feeling that she did not belong. And she thought about his scared eyes, about his broken leg, about the monster that was going to kill him. She had not fought for glory. She had not fought for recognition. She had fought because it was the right thing to do. But if this was the result, if aliens now saw humans differently, then perhaps some good had come from her pain. She closed her eyes and let sleep take her. Outside, the Academy continued to guard her door.